He's asked, what's the vision of the future of the world? He asked, what is my vision? But of course, I don't have access. So I'm going to share what I've heard Pujya Swamiji speak about, and I'm going to share what comes, but it's not like I can see the future. So it's not coming from that place. What we are told in terms of, because this takes us into also the concept of karma, destiny. What's the destiny of the world? Where are we going? And like when we talk about karma and destiny, we speak so frequently about the fact that where we've gotten to right now is a product of the karma of the past. But where we're going to be tomorrow, our quote-unquote destiny, is a product of what we're doing today. And in the same way with the world, it certainly doesn't look good, which I assume is what propels you to ask the question. And yet, along with that which doesn't look good, on a purely scientific, physical basis, if we start looking at things like parts of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, parts of methane in the atmosphere, our ozone layer, UN estimates of how many people are going to live without water in the next 10 years. If we look at the facts and the figures like that, the future is horrendous. And yet, right now we're in today. And in today we have free will. And in today we have the path of our sadhana. We have our intelligence. We have our compassion. We have our initiative, our creativity. And I am full of faith that if we actually use all of those things in the way that best serves the planet, the future can be phenomenal. On individual levels, each of us probably knows people, and I know dozens of people, who at some point in their life were at what we call rock bottom, whether due to alcoholism, whether due to drug addiction, whether due to depression, due to eating disorders, due to any one of a number of different things from which people rarely pull themselves out, or things that tend to take one's life and send it into the spiritual equivalent of a black hole. And yet, who due to grace, whether grace in the form of a guru, grace in the form of a 12-step program, grace in the form of a child who looked in their eyes and said, "Dad, stop drinking," grace, I mean, whatever it is, grace in the form of love for someone more than they loved their addiction. All of the things that have pulled so many people out of that place. Years, decades later, these are people who are serving the world in phenomenal ways. Not only have they changed their lives, but they're changing the lives of so many people around them. So if the global is made up of the individual, which it is, And in the spiritual scientific words of a very, very dear friend and a brilliant mentor, our whole world is made up of molecules. And that which happens on a cellular level, he's taken the cell and turned it into humanity. That which happens on a cellular level is just replicated into that which happens on the individual level, which is just replicated into that which happens on a community level, which is replicated into that which happens on a global level. And all of the same way that we treat the cell becomes the same way that we treat the whole, which becomes the same way that we treat the community and the globe. So, whichever way we look at it, just because a cell is cancerous or a person wakes up in their own vomit in the sewer with no place to call home, or just because our world is where it is today, doesn't mean that tomorrow that cell is going to be cancerous, or that tomorrow that person isn't going to be unrecognizable from the hungover drunkard in the sewer. And in the same way, I have no reason to believe that our world of tomorrow is going to be a continuation of our world today. And yet, in every one of those cases, it doesn't just happen automatically. Grace is there, but grace requires us, A, to open to it, and then B, to respond to it. And so in our world today, the grace is there. But each of us is going to have to do our part. And whether it's in the choices of what we eat, what we buy, how we live, whether it's in the choices of how we utilize our skills. Each of us has a set of skills, talents, abilities that could be used in innumerable ways. Fire can cook food or burn down the house. So what we have gets utilized. And it's either going to be utilized for further destruction, or it's going to be utilized to bring about a beautiful tomorrow. And if we all take pledges, spiritually and actively, not that those two things are separate, but it's important to mention both of them, that we're not just going to meditate on a better world, but that that meditation is going to give us a vision for which to act. I have full faith.